If you're a fan of the hack and slash genre, chances are you've played a game by Platinum Games, but I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't realise. Don't worry, I was there once as well. I don't know why exactly, but for years I'd played several games by this developer and never clocked it was by them. I'd say something like, wow, this reminds me of another game I played recently, and then I'd never put the two together. Platinum Games have released a few different type of games over the years, but the more recent titles they're known for are fast-paced melee-centric titles like Nier Automata, Bayonetta, Metal Gear Rising and Astral Chain, which, if you have a Switch and you haven't bought Astral Chain yet, what are you doing? For a majority of the games Platinum Games have made, they're a lot of fun, but one game in particular I'm rather fond of never really got the attention and praise it deserved. Back in the day when Sega and Platinum Games were very chummy, Sega had made a deal to publish 4 of their upcoming titles, and one of them was a little gem called Vanquish. Vanquish is what I'd like to call the love child between Gears of War and Devil May Cry. It's a fast-paced third-person shooter taking tropes from various games at the time, and while I can't sit here and claim that the game was a super unique title, it was still a lot of fun. And from a glance you can see the similarities between the games, but while it does definitely feel like Gears of War at times, it's a lot more fast-paced. Instead, what Vanquish did was look at what was fun about more trendy games at the time and think, what could we improve? Or better yet, what could we exaggerate? Pretty much everything you'll see from the plot to the gameplay in Vanquish will be familiar to you, but it's a bit more ridiculous and a lot more over the top.
The Russians have complete control of this place.
Vanquish puts you into the suit of a DARPA super soldier called Sam Gideon, a cheap knockoff Solid Snake who's assisting a group of American soldiers and this big bulky guy called Burns. They're in a war at the moment against a portion of the Russian military who stole a space satellite microwave and used it to boil the citizens in San Francisco alive. And if that sounds rather graphic, just watch the intro cutscene. No, seriously, this is how the game starts. You see a shot of space, a giant satellite, and then just a bunch of people exploding, focused camera shots on their skin boiling, and people dying left, right and centre. It's pretty dark. And after that, the tone of the story just does a complete 180 as the rest of the game's cutscenes are just focused on Sam and Burns bickering at each other over and over, and as the game progresses they slowly form some kind of friendship. It's sort of a bittersweet rivalry, it's certainly cliche, but there's some parts which are quite amusing.
Not even scratched. You did get some training in this thing, right?
I'm getting good at this falling out of transports thing, don't you think?
More like getting good at looking like an asshole. Miss me, sweetheart?
Jesus, you? I liked you better when I thought you were dead.
And I liked you better when I didn't have to hear your shit. Let's go.
What the fuck, man?
Going in hard and fast. All units, proceed to the ramps.
You're not allowed to smoke on the ship.
Midway into the first chapter, it's revealed that a very important member of DARPA has been taken captive and explains why you're there in the first place, and shows that you assisting Burns and his military is just basically some kind of cover and secondary objective. Call the plot generic all you want, but this was released around the time where people were still super crazy about Gears of War and Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and if you take the key moments from this game and compare them to the plots of those games, it's pretty much the same thing, except in space. Now what makes Vanquish rather fun is the gameplay. To put it simply, it's good. It's really good. It's what I like to call Devil May Cry but you can only have guns edition. So instead of having various melee weapons at your disposal, you're given a bunch of different weapons to play around with and you can go really fast. Due to the suit DARPA have provided, Sam is basically a super soldier. He has abilities like super strength, the ability to slow down time on command or when near death, specialised weapons and best of all, the most convenient way to travel around large areas. Most of these abilities are locked to a cooldown system which is basically just a glorified stamina bar, but you can easily get around the suit overheating by just keeping an eye on the meter. It's just a shame you can't really upgrade the suit over time to make it more efficient, especially when the health pool is rather small and requires a slowdown effect to efficiently get to cover and regenerate. When it comes to firearms, while you can only carry 3 weapons at a time, you're given plenty of opportunities to swap them out and experiment. Plus you can upgrade them if you find multiple of the same weapon while you're at max ammo, or by finding upgrade boxes that spawn around the map. The upgrades won't do much at first outside of increasing the total ammo pool, but if you can upgrade the weapon to level 10, it will buff the firepower, making them more efficient and a lot more fun to play around with. You've got your standard rifles, heavy machine guns, rocket launchers, laser cannons, pistols, disc launchers, and a bunch more that you can play around with in battle. And thanks to how generous this game is with the drops, you'll have more than enough opportunities to find what suits your playstyle best, because for the most part the action just doesn't stop. Yes, sometimes it will slow down slightly, but it never outstays its welcome. Outside of the standard cutscene or a short walking segment to give the player context, the majority of this game you'll just be fighting robots or bosses. The game's overall structure is rather compact and linear, but it works in the game's favour since the game is only roughly 6 hours long. But it is a good 6 hours. Well, it's a good 6 hours except for one part, which is the stealth monorail. Yeah, I wouldn't call Vanquish perfect, I had a few minor gripes with it, but nothing to really fully ruin the experience. Some enemies are a bit ridiculous when it comes to damage sponging, and when you die you lose an upgrade point on all the weapons you have equipped, which at first is fine, you need some sort of balance. But when you can only get upgrades by either using that upgrade box, or by picking up the same weapon if you're at max ammo, it becomes a bit tiresome. Especially when you hit max level on a weapon and then die due to something out of your control and get pushed back down to level 9 again. Sure, you only need to find the weapon once to restore it, but you have no idea when that's going to drop, so you just end up refusing to use certain weapons unless you get desperate. Or if you're like me, you found a way to exploit it by bringing in a third weapon into the equation. It's a workaround, sure, but it's a rather tedious one at that. I only mention this because it was really amplified when you get to the stealth segment on the monorail. This is just an awful section of the game. Yes, let's give you a stealth segment in a fast-paced game where you have to use a sniper rifle on a really slow monorail to take lights out to stop missiles being shot at you. A sniper rifle, mind you, that you probably never upgraded prior to this because it's not that useful. And thanks to this you'll never have enough ammo and you end up having to die over and over again just to exploit the upgrade system just so you can get past it. And you know, I would have been fine with running out of ammo, but once the light spots you, it is basically game over. The rocket turrets deal so much damage and never stop that you can't do anything. Seriously, outside of this one god-awful segment, the rest of the scenarios in this campaign are brilliant. I love sliding about, I love shooting stuff, but slow stealthy monorail sniping? Yeah, I'll pass.
They must think I like punishment.
After recently replaying Vanquish, I can still easily recommend it. With the more compact pace of gameplay, it's rather difficult to get bored of this game and it certainly leaves you wanting more. It's somewhat of a short game, but it feels like there was more to tell since the game has some rather weird pacing towards the end, and it's rather unfortunate. You have this story set on what appears to be a Russian space station in the shape of a halo, and while you do go through various areas, you don't explore a lot of it. I rather enjoy the sections where you get a glimpse at the rest of the station. There's a fair amount of detail put into the outside world on the station, and the thing is massive, and could have easily inhabited thousands if not millions of people, so to see so much of it unexplored is rather upsetting. There could be many reasons as to why Vanquish was never brought back. It could be due to sales not meeting expectations, Sega and Platinum Games not wanting to bring the game back, or it could be due to more recent releases that people would confuse Vanquish with Anthem and it would just be overlooked. But frankly I don't care about that, I'm entitled and I want a sequel. In all seriousness, I think with how much Platinum Games have developed and grown over the years, now would be a perfect time to give Vanquish another chance. If they really played into the possibilities of what the suit could do, you could easily have this game stand out as its own thing, and with how the game ends, it's clear that a sequel was considered at one point. It's just a shame that nothing came of it. Plus, could you imagine the fast-paced action of Vanquish mixed with the precise gore from Metal Gear Rising? Now imagine using the jets off your boots in Vanquish to melt something and tell me that isn't a good idea.